Okay, let's address the first elephant in the room. Yes, it's been several months since the last upload, and for that, I sincerely apologize to all of you. I started a new job shortly after my last video, and learning the ins and outs of this new position has taken up the majority of my time. In addition, the past 2 weeks, I've been clocking in some copious amounts of overtime, working 10 to 12-hour days, 6 days a week, with no sign of it stopping anytime soon. The second, and arguably more important topic to address, yes, it's true, I have gotten thinner. I'm so glad you all noticed. In all seriousness though, this is my new and improved persona moving forward, and it was provided to me by the incomparable Dude Tune, an extremely talented artist whose social media pages I will leave links to in the description down below. So now that you're more familiar with the face that will be greeting you in future videos, let's all collectively go crazy for a few seconds, shall we?
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the is that? What is that?
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Wait.
Everybody calm down!
Recently, probably about a week or two ago by the time you're watching this video, internal documents from Microsoft related to their FTC court case regarding the Activision Blizzard acquisition leaked on the FTC's official website. These documents laid out in great detail Microsoft's strategy for the Xbox ecosystem in the coming years, including but not limited to a mid-gen console refresh with both the Series X and S receiving brand new models with accompanying bells and whistles like additional storage, a new controller featuring haptic feedback akin to the PS5 DualSense controller, and the biggest bombshell of all, a complete release timeline for games that are coming from Bethesda's internal studios, some of which have been highly requested and anticipated for years. For the sake of brevity, we're going to just skip right to the most interesting part of the leak, and also the most relevant to myself and my audience, which is the release schedule for Bethesda's future games. A couple of disclaimers before I actually go in depth here. This tentative release schedule is very out of date, as many of the games listed to be released in a given year were either pushed back or delayed as a result of the pandemic. In addition to this, because this list is so outdated, many of these projects could very well have been cancelled outright and may never see the light of day. I'm hoping this isn't the case though, because man, this release schedule is packed with great stuff. Starting from the top, we have fiscal year 2020. Doom Eternal is listed here, awesome game by the way, and it did indeed release within this time frame, as well as the Wastelanders expansion for Fallout 76, and the Greymoor expansion for Elder Scrolls Online. Deathloop, however, was actually delayed into 2021, as we all know, so there lies our first indication that this list was created long before the pandemic took its toll on the games industry. Moving on to fiscal year 2021, Starfield and Redfall are listed here, and man, can you imagine how much worse both of these games would have been if they had actually released that year? Starfield in particular really benefited benefited from that 2-year delay and pushback to 2023, and this also indicates that ZeniMax and Bethesda had initially planned for Starfield to release much earlier than that 11/11/22 date that Todd Howard had been so firm about. Ghostwire Tokyo also faced a delay into the following year of 2022, so there's another title that was ultimately pushed back, as well as Project Hibiki, which we all know now was the codename for Hi-Fi Rush, which launched in January of this year. Crazy to think it hasn't actually been that long since Hi-Fi Rush came out. Also an amazing game, and still my current pick for Game of the Year, but Starfield could very well change my mind. Speaking of Starfield, yes, I have been playing through the game for quite some time, thanks to Bethesda, who generously provided me with a copy, and yes, I do plan on putting out a video with some of my more elaborate and in-depth thoughts on the game once I've put a more significant amount of time into it. For now, and just to give a quick tease on my Starfield impressions thus far, it has been a mixed bag of sorts, but I will expand on that when the time comes. Turning our attention back to this list, Doom Eternal's DLC The Ancient Gods is mentioned, and both parts 1 and 2 of that story DLC did release within this fiscal year timeframe, as well as the yearly ESO expansion. Of particular interest are these free-to-play and mobile titles, which we still don't know much about, Project Ubu and Project Wanderer, as well as Project Whirlwind. One of these titles is undoubtedly the mighty Doom mobile game from the team at AlphaDog, a smaller development house at Bethesda that up to this point has focused solely on mobile free-to-play experiences. The others still remain a mystery though. Fiscal year 2022 is where things start to get very interesting, however. The currently in development Indiana Jones title from Wolfenstein developers Machine Games is listed, as well as the highly requested remaster of The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. Indiana Jones was announced a few years ago with a brief teaser, and we've heard nothing since then. Machine Games have been toiling away quietly behind the scenes on this one, and I honestly feel that Machine Games are due for a comeback in a big way after the disappointing Wolfenstein Youngblood. With Todd Howard acting as an executive producer and creative consultant on the project, this is bound to be a very special kind of licensed video game. A remaster for The Elder Scrolls IV was actually already circulating in the news cycle not that long ago, so seeing this game on the list just seems to confirm at this point that we'll likely be seeing a big glow up for what many consider to be the best Elder Scrolls game, as well as the best BGS game ever made. Plus, it'll be another good way to tide everyone over until the inevitable release of The Elder Scrolls VI sometime within the next few years. Fiscal year 2023 includes a few mysterious titles, as well as, shockingly, a new Doom game from id Software. Many people like myself naturally assumed that the team at id would turn their attention towards rebooting another of their popular franchises, the Quake series, not unlike how they rebooted Doom and brought it into the modern era with universal praise. It seems that isn't the case, as the story of the Doomslayer is set to continue in some form or fashion. The subtitle Year Zero suggests, at least to me, that this could be some kind of prequel to Doom 2016 and Eternal, but I could be wrong. Project Kestrel and Project Platinum are complete enigmas. One of these is most likely the next game from ZeniMax Online Studios, who are apparently working on a brand new IP. Roundhouse Studios, who assisted Arcane Austin in the development of Redfall, are also apparently working on their own unannounced new IP, which could be the other project. Finally, we get to the really good stuff. Fiscal year 2024 lists The Elder Scrolls VI, but I think we all know that with Starfield having just barely released this year, we should not be expecting ES6 until at least 4 to 5 years from now. Project Kestrel will be receiving an expansion of some kind, and this makes me think that Kestrel is what belongs to ZeniMax Online, and Platinum is likely Roundhouse's game. Another unknown licensed title will be coming from Bethesda as well, which could be literally anything at this point. I honestly have no clue what it could be. Fallout 3, one of my favorite games of all time, and my personal introduction to Bethesda Game Studios and their particular flavor of open world RPG, is getting a remaster. So many community members, most notably Mr. Matty Plays, have been begging for a new version of this timeless classic, and with the Fallout TV show from Amazon releasing sometime next year alongside the next-gen update for Fallout 4, fans of the franchise will be eating very well over the course of the next several years. Sadly, the remaster is probably further away than we would like, but I would much prefer that whomever is working on the remaster, whether it's Bethesda Game Studios or a third party, take as much time as they can to modernize and polish this new iteration of what is still, to this day, one of the best single-player role-playing games ever created. The Ghostwire Tokyo sequel is a real dark horse pick for this list, and even though I enjoyed Ghostwire thoroughly and recommended it to my audience, I didn't necessarily anticipate a sequel after the story conclusion seemed so finite, and the game also did not sell very well from what I've heard. However, once it released on Game Pass, it seems that Ghostwire has experienced a newfound resurgence in both popularity as well as player engagement, as the official social media account for the game announced not that long ago that they surpassed the 6 million players milestone, most likely due to many people discovering Ghostwire on Game Pass for the very first time. Microsoft seems to be looking much more closely at player retention in regards to Game Pass titles as their metric for success, so perhaps this is why Ghostwire could be receiving a follow-up? The game is super fun to play, and the universe and inclusion of Japanese mythology and folklore are certainly asking to be expanded upon in one way or another. Okay folks, the big one. Dishonored 3 is on this list, and holy shit, when I saw this, my heart skipped so many beats, I might as well have died and gone to heaven, because it seems my prayers for a proper third entry in my favorite franchise of all time are finally being answered. I, as well as so many members of the Arcane Outsiders community, have been crying out for Arcane to make Dishonored 3, and to know that it actually exists in some form brings me an immense feeling of both excitement and validation, as I've quietly theorized for quite some time that this could be Arcane Lyon's next game after Deathloop. With the official confirmation that Deathloop takes place within the Dishonored universe and is essentially a spin-off, it makes sense that after some distance from the series proper and a major jump forward in the timeline, that Lyon would want to finally put a bow on the story of the Dishonored games as we know them and close everything out on a high note. Many people, it's worth mentioning, were not fond of either Deathloop or Redfall, so Dishonored 3 can also be seen as Arcane Studios' way to climb back into the good graces of the gaming community. I adored Deathloop, and despite its many flaws, I have found a lot of things to like about Redfall, but none of that compares to the love and adoration I have for the Dishonored series. I've played the games more times than I can count. I'm still, to this day, reading the novels and comics and absorbing as much knowledge about the canon and the lore of the world. I am not exaggerating when I say that it is the all-time great franchise of my life, period. Now, with all that being laid out, I should also say that despite my excitement, it is tempered quite a bit by the fact that all of this was leaked to the public and not officially announced by Bethesda or their studios, and that sucks, to be honest. I feel for the developers who no doubt are still trying to process how to handle the ongoing situation with the leaks, and it's never fun to see your hard work and secrecy laid bare for all to see when you're not ready to show it off or even confirm that it exists. If any of the team members from Arcane Studios, id Software, Tango Gameworks, or any of the other countless talented people at Bethesda see this video, I just want you to know that despite the massive amount of information that has spilled, you still have my unwavering support, and even though the leak has ruined a bit of the surprise, I'll still be grinning from ear to ear once your games have been revealed to us in an official capacity. And in the case of Dishonored 3, I will most likely seize up and cry like a baby when it is officially revealed with a trailer. So these are some of my thoughts on that massive Bethesda and Microsoft leak, and while I don't usually like to comment on rumors, leaks, or speculation, this was just too much for me to ignore. But now it's up to you guys. What on this list has you the most excited? Feel free to comment down below and let's discuss it. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and share with others who might find my channel content interesting to them. Consider subscribing to the channel for more Bethesda-focused coverage in the future, and be sure to hit that notification bell so you always know when my newest video is available. And remember that the outsider walks among us. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.